Hey everybody, it's Party Lead here with another episode of Total Breakdown. We continue our series today with a battle between the Tomb Kings of the Gobbo King and the Bretonnians of Mukip at Langui. We begin with talk of composition and deployment, of course, and now is the best time to point out that this tournament is actually based off of a funds limit with a maximum unit count of 40 units. So you can see the Bretonnians actually have over 20 units on the field, and that's because both armies are limited by a fund. Now let's actually pause this battle over here as we go over deployment. You can see we have the Tomb Kings being led by Cetra the Imperishable atop a War Sphinx, and up front you can see we actually have two Necrotects, one here and one over here. We also have some Skeleton Spearmen to the left and to the right, as well as a pair back over here and over here. And up front in the middle, we've got some Skeleton Warriors to the left, some to the right, and then a pair of Nahara Warriors in the center. Then we also have these Necropolis Knights with Halberds to the left over here, and some to the right. And then we've also got the Ushabti with Great Bow, acting as a bit of an artillery piece, firing away as soon as possible, hoping to get some armor-piercing damage done nice and early, while all the way off in the distance, Vanguard deployed some Skeleton Horsemen to the left and to the right of the Bretonnian forces. Let's take a look at the Bretonnian forces again. They are larger than 20, and that is because of the rules of this tournament. And as you can see over here, we have the Fey Enchantress in charge of this army on Unicorn back, and up front we have a large line of foot squires, armor-piercing, and anti-infantry, and right behind them on either flank you can see we've got these battle pilgrims to the left and some battle pilgrims to the right. And then in the middle over here again, we have some men-at-arms with polearms again, armor-piercing and anti-large now to hold off against any enemy constructs, and there are likely to be many. We also have over here the Grail Relique, or the Grail Relique, however you wish to pronounce that. That does provide some great buffs in the area around it and will cause some damage as well if it is able to get in there. And then right behind those two layers, we have all of these Peasant Bowmen as well, hoping to fire away from a distance, get a fair bit of damage done to health and morale, while some Peasant Mob make up the rear guard over here alongside the Knights of the Realm. So a very large army once again, hoping to overcome the threat of the Tomb Kings from range and in melee. We've got a lot of anti-large capabilities, a lot of armor piercing across the board. Very good ideas against the Tomb Kings because you're never really sure if they're going to come in with a large number of low-tier units or a large number of constructs coming through. And you can see right now both armies sort of pushing to meet somewhere over here. The Bretonnians would like to pull the Tomb Kings out from all of these trees in case they're hiding over there, just in case they're going to use those trees for cover against the very large range contingent that the Bretonnians have brought to the field. And off in the distance you can see as well we have these Skeleton Horsemen pushing in towards the trees, into the trees here as well, just trying to use those trees for cover to stay hidden, while up front you can see the Ushabti with Great Bow already firing away, getting some damage into these foot squires over here, picking off some individuals, and getting some, well, decent damage and dropping the unit count already down to about 83 foot squires over here out of 90. A couple more shots coming in, 82, 81, 80, just very accurate shots over here dropping these foot squires, and that's a good call again. Armor piercing and anti-infantry, they're a pretty threatening unit, but you can see the Bretonnians pushing forward, getting very aggressive over here as the Tomb Kings are trying to get into formation over here, try to line up over here and keep some units hidden in the trees to hopefully maybe come in from the sides, get a nice little envelopment going or something. Well, over here you can see we do have these Skeleton Horsemen pushing up as well, looking for a gap, I think, into these Peasant Bowmen, but you can see as the Nehara Warriors push forward, all of these Peasant Bowmen turn around and start firing away at these warriors who are without any shields, without any physical resistance, nothing to protect them from this onslaught of arrows, from this rain of ranged fire as it comes through and causes a fair bit of damage, dropping their health very quickly, dropping their morale as well as they try to close the gaps towards the enemy. You can see Cetra over there on the back just sort of charging with them, safe right now from range support. Meanwhile, back here you can see we've got the Necropolis Knights with their halberds pushing in towards these battle pilgrims, while these Skeleton Horsemen as well looking for an opportunity to get involved. And you can see over here, again, we've got Cetra as well as these Nehara Warriors pushing through. Over here, these battle pilgrims take a huge beating, while back here, these Skeleton Horsemen now pushing in towards these Peasant Bowmen. But you can see we've got these men-at-arms with polearms pushing back to respond to that as quickly as possible, while the rest of the lines meet across the board over here. And you can see we have the Foot Squires getting engaged against the Necrotect, as well as the Nehara Warriors, while over here, we've got these Skeleton Warriors going toe-to-toe with these Foot Squires, and the Foot Squires are most definitely going to come out on top. While here you can see we get the Awakening of the Wood coming in, a nice little clump being provided over here by these Skeleton Warriors, and the Fey Enchantress coming in with some magical support to try and finish them off. Not a bad call at all, of course. You'll see a fair bit of damage coming through as Cetra continues to, again, cause some damage of his own in this central clump over here. Back here, though, you can see we actually have these Knights of the Realm coming out from those trees and pushing right into these Skeleton Horsemen. The Skeleton Horsemen do not stand a chance. They immediately start to give up on the fight. Very low on morale, very low on health right away. Great use of the Knights of the Realm. Again, they are anti-large, of course, so So finishing off those Skeleton Horsemen, while over here you can see we actually have these Necropolis Knights with their halberds pushing in towards these Battle Pilgrims who are just sitting there looking pretty until this charge comes in from behind, tossing them around, getting a fair bit of damage, and they're hoping to finish them off, while we also have these Skeleton Spearmen, I think, positioning themselves to push in, while these Skeleton Spearmen are about to get tied down by the Peasant mob over here. Meanwhile, you can see these Skeleton Horsemen, as they're trying to close the gap into the Peasant Bowmen, are being horribly hurt by all of the range support coming in. They're already crumbling, and they manage to charge into some men-at-arms with pole arms instead, so a terrible situation for those Skeleton Horsemen. But you can see Cetra the Imperishable is there as well to try and provide some support. He's got the Blessed Blade of Tra activated, hoping to finish off this contingent over here and maybe protect this unit of Skeleton Horsemen, but they don't stand much of a chance, unfortunately. You can see the other unit of Skeleton Horsemen already taken care of, beautifully done by the Knights of the Realm over there, while back over here you can see we actually get the Fey Enchanters trying to provide some magical support once again as the center continues to crumble away for the Tomb Kings over here. They don't stand a chance at all, while over here you can see the Skeleton Spearmen get a bad hit from that Chalice of Potions, while over here back to the left you can see again we've got a bit of a stalemate going on. Despite the assistance from this Realm of Souls, we've got all that regeneration coming in, but it's just not enough to help these Tomb Kings come out on top on the front line. But you can see back here, we do get the Ushapti being summoned in from the Realm of Souls, diving into these Peasant Bowmen, hoping to shut down all of that range support as it comes pouring in to finish off the Nehara Warriors. As you can see, they are in a terrible spot over here, while back to the right, you can see again, we've got these Skeleton Spearmen just giving up on the fight. We've got the Necropolis Knights with their halberds as well, having to pull back into safety away from the Knights of the Realm, assisted by the Men-at-Arms with polearms, as another Awakening of the Wood causes some damage to these Skeleton Spearmen. But again, you can see we have those Men-at-Arms giving an incessant chase against these Necropolis Knights with halberds, hoping to take care of them, as over here these Necropolis Knights with halberds are able to dive into these foot squires and hopefully finish them off, reduce their health and morale significantly, and maybe finish them off once and for all. While here you can see the Peasant mob actually managing to hold these Skeleton Spearmen in place, while back here Cetra the Imperishable alongside these Ushapti managed to scare off and terrify some of these Peasant Bowmen as well as these foot squires. Beautifully done there, preventing that range support for at least a little while, while back here you can see the Ushapti with their great bows firing away at these Knights of the Realm, hoping to finish them off, as they are a very threatening unit on the field. And you can see as well these Necropolis Knights with their halberds finishing off this unit of foot squires as this unit comes in to provide some support, and Cetra the Imperishable coming in to try and support the center over here, as this unfortunate Necrotect is having a terrible time. But in comes Cetra the Imperishable, getting a beautiful charge over here, just tossing all of these foot squires around, getting a lot of damage. But unfortunately for the Tomb Kings, with the Grail Relique right there, we have that immunity to psychology. So whatever, fear and terror might have been brought in by Cetra the Imperishable is completely wasted. And again, there's a lot of assistance coming in from that Grail Relique, helping these Bretonnians stick around and fight, as Cetra does come in to try and save that Necrotect, who again isn't doing so hot. He's fully surrounded. He's taking a bit of a beating. He's very low on morale. He's got about 50% health left, so not an ideal situation whatsoever. While over here you can see we have these Peasant Bowmen firing away at the Ushapti that were summoned in, already taking damage from the fact that they were summoned in, and getting additional damage, of course, from all the range shots coming in. We have these Men-at-Arms with polearms pushing through, assisted by Earthblood, just keeping them alive as these Knights of the Realm come in as well. Again, trying to keep them alive because they are a very valuable unit. While you can see over here, we've got these Peasant Bowmen firing away at the Necropolis Knights with halberds, but unfortunately with the Ushapti right there, they do decide to give up on the fight. They get terrified, I think, and then turn that into a rout as they pull back into safety. But these Peasant Bowmen willing to return once more, rallying, willing to fight once again. While over here you can see Cetra diving into the Peasant Bowmen over here, but over here you can actually see the Peasant mob alongside these Battle Pilgrims coming out on top sort of over these Skeleton Spearmen, who managed to survive, but they did get tied down for a very long time. While over here you can see the Necrotect and these Necropolis Knights with halberds trying to just come out on top in the central position, as Cetra the Imperishable is looking for another opportunity to get involved somewhere, maybe push back over here, shut down some of these Peasant Bowmen, push in and shut down some of these Peasant Bowmen. While back to the right you can see once more we have a bit of a different situation. The Tomb Kings seem to be coming out on top over here, these foot squires in a terrible situation. We've got these Battle Pilgrims as well finally being wiped out by the Necropolis Knights with halberds, and the Necrotect over here as well chasing after some of these foot squires, as the Ushapti with Great Bow are able to turn around and get involved over here, maybe fire away at some of these foot squires, while the Fey Enchantress over here, as you can see, pops another Chalice of Potions and actually gets a massive amount of friendly fire over here as these Battle Pilgrims try to close the gap to these Skeleton Spearmen, who very wisely pulled away from that cast radius. Very, very fantastic micromanagement. They're seeing that cast radius, pulling back into safety and actually drawing these Battle Pilgrims into that, well, I should call it a blast radius, and they take a lot of damage, down to about 10% health now on these Battle Pilgrims. Beautifully done there by the Tomb Kings, but you can see the Skeleton Spearmen are well, they're worse for wear. They are crumbling. They're in a terrible situation themselves, despite their beautiful work so far. They've been kept occupied by some peasant mobs, and they've got 66 kills, but they might be 66 useless kills. While over here you can see these Necropolis Knights with halberds are being taken care of by the Knights of the Realm, as well as these Men-at-Arms with polearms. Again, both of them are anti-large. The Men-at-Arms with polearms are armor-piercing as well, so the Necropolis Knights with halberds find themselves in a bit of a precarious situation. While back here you can see Cetra the Imperishable is pushing in to provide some support over here to these Necropolis Knights with halberds, hoping to get a nice charge here or there, get some nice shatters coming in perhaps, deciding to turn around and push into these men-at-arms with polearms instead. As you can see, all of these peasant bowmen decide to give up on the fight, very low on health, very low on morale, some terror kicking in over here as well, but these peasant bowmen get one last volley in and then decide to completely shatter and give up on the fight, while over here we get these Necropolis Knights, one last, I think, Hail Mary charge into some of these Knights of the Realm, hoping to cause a little bit of damage before they finally crumble and give up on the fight, while back here you can see we've got these Necropolis Knights pulling away towards these foot squires, hoping to get a nice rear charge alongside Cetra the Imperishable. Again, a good rear charge over here can finish off this unit potentially. In they come. Great sweeping attacks there, just absolutely ridiculous amounts of damage being done, beautifully done there by these Necropolis Knights. Noticing these foot squires had their backs turned, but the foot squires, I think, at the last minute turn around and try to maybe get a counter charge into these Necropolis Knights. That's obviously not going to do too much until they overcome that charge bonus of 40 that the Necropolis Knights come in with. But as you can see in the back there, we also have Cetra the Imperishable pushing in towards this very same unit of foot squires, and he's bringing in a lot of pain along with him. A charge bonus of 64, that weapon strength of 490, armor piercing and anti-infantry. These foot squires do not stand much of a chance as he comes charging through and tossing them back, getting a fair bit of work done over there. As you can see, these foot squires low on health and morale. They don't really want to stick around, and Cetra might look for another opportunity to get involved somewhere, while over here you can see we also have the Ushapti with Great Bow firing away at the Fey Enchantress, who's just dancing around, dodging those shots as these peasant bowmen once more rallying and hoping to fire away, get some damage into these Necropolis Knights, as well as Cetra perhaps, as they push in and charge towards these men-at-arms with polearms, trying to protect, I think, once again, the Necrotect over here as we get some more magical support. I think Earthblood was almost coming in, but then the Fey Enchantress decides to pull back into safety as the Ushapti with Great Bows continue to fire away, and now Cetra pushing in towards these men-at-arms with polearms, shutting them down before they're able to close the gap to these Ushapti with Great Bow. Beautifully done there. This little trail of blood spots there, Cetra leaving behind as the men-at-arms with polearms got crushed over there. Meanwhile, over here you can see we've got all of these men-at-arms with polearms pushing in towards these Necropolis Knights with halberds. Neru's Incantation of Protection coming in, getting that physical resistance assistance, hoping to stay alive against all of these anti-large units. Peasant Mob coming in here as well, hoping to get some action, while some foot squires coming as well, bringing up the rear, while off in the distance you can see we've got all of these peasant bowmen. We've got some men-at-arms with polearms willing to fight as well, and off in the distance over there, these battle pilgrims finally got rid of those skeleton spearmen that they were fighting with, completely shattered and destroyed, disintegrated, I should say, while here you can see we've got these Necropolis Knights now pushing back in, hoping to scare off these foot squires. They are very low on health, very low on morale, but unfortunately we do have the Grail Reliquae right over here, able to provide some support with its, again, immunity to psychology support that it gives to this massive clump. Fear and Terror would have made a huge difference over here, but unfortunately just not available. Earthblood comes in once more to try and keep all of these units alive as the Necrotect is just whipping away, trying to get some damage done. And over here as well you can see the Ushapti with Great Bow actually dive in towards these foot squires, trying to get rid of the foot squires again, very low on health, very low on morale, while back here you can see Cetra pushing in towards these peasant bowmen alongside these Necropolis Knights as well, hoping to shut down all of that range support, as it does cause not only physical damage but also morale damage. And now Cetra again turning around, looking for another opportunity to get involved as some of these peasant bowmen begin to shatter, and you can see the Necropolis Knights with halberds as well, looking for something else to shut down next, while Cetra turns around and pushes in towards these Knights of the Realm, hoping to scare them off as they charge in to the Ushapti with Great Bow. And you can see the Knights of the Realm in a terrible situation right now as Cetra comes in with that beautiful charge, but the Ushapti with Great Bow need to pull back into safety and maybe engage something else, maybe dive into some of these foot squires over here as they chase after the Necrotect. And you can see off to the side we have these men-at-arms with polearms returning to the fight as well, and back here these Necropolis Knights with halberds diving into these peasant bowmen again, hoping to get them to rout and ultimately shatter as some of these other units do as well back there. Meanwhile here you can see we've got some more men-at-arms with polearms. Just the sheer number of anti-large armor-piercing units is absolutely terrifying coming in from the Bretonnians as the Ushapti with Great Bow, the Necrotect, and Cetra himself try to hold on to the fight over here. As you can see back here, these Necropolis Knights with halberds, they've done a lot of work, but they're very close to just being completely finished off now. Here as well you can see the Necrotect in a terrible situation. The Fey Enchantress just picking away at him. He's very low on health, very low on morale. He's rallying there, so he's not crumbling just yet, but he's very close to falling apart. You can see Cetra, though, pretty much at full health, able to dance around and get a fair bit of damage in. He's turning around, trying to get some cycle charging done, I think, trying to push into whatever units are unbraced and willing to take some charges. Here he comes into these men-at-arms with polearms, again, getting a fair bit of damage. We've got these Necropolis Knights with halberds as well, getting some nice rear charges, sweeping in against these men-at-arms with polearms, while back here, Cetra just breathing on the Fey Enchantress, hoping to scare her off with the bad breath off the Sphinx over there, I think, and again, whipping the tail around, coming around, looking for another opportunity to dive in somewhere, while well. These Necropolis Knights as well as the Necrotect here having a tough time against the Men-at-Arms with polearms, assisted by the Grail Reliquae, and you can see Cetra again just diving through, trying to push some of these Men-at-Arms with polearms back, push some of these foot squires back as well, maybe push towards these peasant mob, get them to rout completely and shatter, coming back around, looping in towards the Fey Enchantress once more, I think, again, trying to scare away enemy leadership, and you can see the Necrotect there did crumble, completely give up on the fight and disintegrate, while the Ushabti with Great Bow as well, not in an ideal position at all. They decide to completely disintegrate as well, and now Cetra has to be very well managed over here, diving through these Men-at-Arms with polearms, diving through these foot squires, but again, they all have the assistance of the Grail Reliquae, and of course the Fey Enchantress is able to come in with some magical support as well, if and when necessary. But you can see Cetra here doing a fair bit of work. He is now 1 versus 315 individuals, so he's got a lot of work to do, but he is at full health. But in comes another Earthblood, just trying to keep all of these individuals alive here. Great use of Earthblood, great use of the Grail Reliquae as well, keeping it alive so it can bring its support consistently throughout this battle where it's been necessary. And now you can see Cetra as well just trying to take care of some of these peasant mob, but without that fear and terror, he's not actually able to do work as quickly as he would otherwise have done. And over here now, driving through these Men-at-Arms with polearms, but again, the Men-at-Arms with polearms not being terrified off, willing to stick and fight, coming back around Cetra and getting another charge right through the Grail Reliquae. I think Fey Enchantress here giving chase to Cetra. Cetra using the Blessed Blade of Tra again, but it's not doing enough to actually turn the tide of this battle. He pushes in a nice hit over there, a great strike, and now it's 1 versus 289, but still a large number to take care of. We're actually going to kick it up a notch over here, speed it up a little bit to see exactly how Cetra tries to take care of all of these individuals, just dancing back and forth, tossing all of these individuals around, getting a fair bit of damage in actually, but between the Grail Reliquae and all that magical support from the Fey Enchantress, all of these Bretonnians are willing to stick and fight. You can see these foot squires are having a pretty terrible time, very low on health, very low on morale, and Cetra as well, though, slowly being chipped away. Look at his health now, look at his morale, so low, just 25% of each remaining now, fully surrounded. These foot squires, again, very low on health, they're very close to giving up, they are wavering. If Cetra is able to maybe get out of this situation and come back in for some nice rear charges, he might be well enough off, but unfortunately there's just so much anti-large armor piercing in this situation that Cetra might not have a good time. He might not be able to come up on top, and you can see over here we have the peasant mob available to, you know, march in if they so chose, and then off in the distance over here we have the peasant bowmen as well, able to get another volley in if they wanted to, but ultimately Cetra does decide to perish. And the Bretonnians get a beautiful victory, a valiant defeat for the Tomb Kings. Truly a battle of attrition here. The Bretonnians were able to put up a fantastic fight to hold the Tomb Kings at bay, coming in with superior numbers and a ranged contingent that was able to soften the front lines before the clashes began. A relatively weak front line from the Tomb Kings crumbled very easily, while the constructs got a fair bit of work done. At the end of the day, the Fey Enchantress's magic, the support from the Grail Reliquae, and the sheer number of superior troops brought in by the Bretonnians meant the Tomb Kings were bound to perish. As always, make sure you subscribe to this channel for more Total War content and keep sending in those battle replays. I do think it's one of the best ways to learn, and it's always nice to highlight such amazing battles from the community. I'd also like to thank all of my patrons for supporting the channel every month. It makes a huge difference in keeping us alive and running smoothly, and thank you all for watching. I'll see you on the battlefield.